I call this meeting of the Conroe Independent School District Board of Trustees to order. Let the record show that a quorum of members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. The time is 6:01. Thank you for everybody being here today. Our first item is item 1A and B, our invocation, which will be led by Mr. Dale Inman, and then our pledge will be led by Ms. Stacy Chase.
Please pray with me. Father, we thank you for this evening. We thank you for the citizens that are gathered here tonight and putting their time in, wanting each of us to make this school district a better district. Father, we may have differences of opinions. Help us not to be disagreeable with one another in those opinions, but help us all to work for the same goal. We thank you for Dr. Knoll, for the other staff that are here, the administration. Thank you for each citizen, again, that's here tonight. Father, we ask a special blessing on our students. Help them as they grow up and as they're looking at us and modeling our behaviors. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas flag. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
May be seated. Thank you, Mr. Inman and Ms. Chase. Moving on to item 2, we have our citizen participation. Ms. Godfrey, do we have a few signed up today?
Yes, we do.
Very good. Please keep in mind that while this board is held in public forum, the purpose of this meeting is for the Board of Trustees to conduct the business of the district in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, and Board Policy BED. If a patron during public comment addresses an issue that is on tonight's posted agenda, the board will defer its decision of the issue until the item has reached the agenda. For any issue that is not on the board's posted agenda, the board cannot and will not deliberate or make decisions related to that issue. Speakers who have signed up to address the board during public comment must make all comments to the Board of Trustees and not to the audience. The board has specific policies under which the board considers complaints. If your purpose is to seek some type of remedy, the board cannot discuss or respond to your concern until you have met the requirements of the appropriate district policy. Accordingly, the board will not hear complaints or derogatory comments about individual students or staff during public comments. Information about how to file a complaint is located in the district's website. Any speaker who fails to comply with these guidelines will be given one warning. If the speaker fails to comply, the podium microphone will be turned off, the speaker's comments will not be streamed, and the speaker will not be allowed to continue addressing the board. The board expects that everyone in attendance will conduct themselves respectfully, regardless of whether they agree or disagree with the speaker's message. Interrupting speakers or this meeting will not be tolerated. To ensure that the board can effectively conduct the district's business, each of the speakers who have registered to address the board will be given 3 minutes to present their comments. Each speaker's time will be displayed on the screen around the room. When the countdown timer reaches 0, the next speaker will be called. So, Ms. Godfrey, will you please call our first person?
Lynn Wynn.
No, Lynn?
Rachel Walker.
Good evening, Board, President Hubert, Dr. Knoll. My name is Rachel Walker. I'm one of the candidates for CISD Board of Trustees, Position 1. Tonight I'm here as a parent and as a constituent as well. I read a recent Texas statewide voter survey by the TSA. This voter survey showed that there are primarily 3 issues that voters are concerned with. These 3 issues are school safety, learning loss due to COVID, and more mental health programs in our schools. If you are a supporter of public education and stay involved with our local schools and school board meetings, this information might surprise you. There's a lot of attention being given to manufactured problems that the majority of parents don't actually care about. What we are really concerned with is the safety of our children when we send them to school, how learning loss is being addressed, and how are schools looking out for not only the physical well-being of our children, but their mental health as well. I believe as a district we've done a really good job staying focused on what really matters to parents and addressing real issues that affect students. So I thank you for that. I would ask that as a board, you continue to not allow these sensationalized, manufactured problems take away resources and focus from what the parents are actually telling you matters to us. So I thank you for that as a district, to keep your focus on what is really affecting our students. So thank you.
Thank you.
Aaron Baker.
President Hubert, Dr. Knoll, Board, thank you for having us tonight. My name is Erin Baker Michaelis, and I have 2 children in the Conroe ISD schools at McCullough and at the Woodlands High School. I have a bachelor's degree in political science, a master's degree in education, and 60 hours towards my PhD in education policy. So I know exactly what your jobs are and how difficult they are. I want to thank you and all the educators in CISD for our unparalleled school district. We moved here because of the schools. We're staying because of the schools. So thank you. I want to talk about how I grew up trusting as educators and our military as our first line of defense, again, in protecting freedom and against fascism. I come from a long line of military personnel, many of whom fought fascism back in the 1940s, several who went to Southeast Asia and saw the dangers of what happened with Pol Pot as a fascist dictator in the 1970s. And I want to just alert you to some of the dog whistles of fascism and how educators can keep that out of our nation, out of our schools. One of them is that fascism can show up as an open hostility to education. Professors, other academics, teachers, and artists can be targeted. They can be censored, and authors can be targeted as well. Things like books get banned, things like ideas and freedom of speech are curtailed. And it starts in schools. So right now, a small vocal community is sounding some of the dog whistles of fascism. The majority of tax-paying parents and citizens of this district believe in trusting you and our educators to protect freedom, not a small group of parents who are trying to silence educators and invade our schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
Trent Smith.
Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to all of you tonight. I give honor to Dr. Knoll and the remainder of the leadership of Conroe ISD, both before me and behind me. Today marks the 5th day of school. 2 out of 5 days, my wife and I have noticed a man dressed in women's clothing working the car rider line at Giesinger Elementary. The entire situation, a male CISD employee dressed as a female, is very concerning. I fully understand that CISD employees have the right to make personal decisions regarding sexuality, religion, and politics. Additionally, I'm aware that CISD is an equal opportunity employer. This is a good thing that symbolizes the freedoms we have as Americans. When CISD employees are on the clock, their personal lifestyle, sexual persuasion, and religious or political opinions must remain just that, personal. As an American, this man has the freedom to be and dress however he chooses. However, these alternative lifestyle decisions should never come into one's professional life as an educator, just like a teacher shouldn't discuss and or promote political and religious views with students. Faculty and staff should neither discuss, dress, or allude in any way to their sexuality and other personal lifestyle decisions. Simply put, a male dressing in a female attire is promoting his personal views to students, just as a teacher wearing political clothing is promoting their personal politics. I have researched the Conroe ISD Employee Handbook and could not find a dress code. I could have overlooked it. Is there no official policy? If not, I'm asking for that to be voted on by each of you and implemented as soon as possible into the Employee Handbook. Why is it that if my daughter wants to play basketball, volleyball, or softball in a skirt later in her academic career, I will have to have special permission and/or religious exemptions. But if a grown man who you employ wants to dress and look like a woman on the same campus, he can do so with no questions asked. Because of these glaring inconsistencies, I've been forced to answer questions with my 7, 8, and 10-year-old children the past 3 or 4 days. Dad, why does that man dress like a girl? Why does he act differently? My children shouldn't come home with questions about, they should come home with questions about their schoolwork, not the lifestyle choices of CISD employees. Is it CISD policy to confuse children on traditional values of sexuality? Is it CISD policy to protect private alternative lifestyle choices of employees over the education of students? I'm asking each of you kindly and respectfully to step up and provide the necessary leadership that will stop the confusion and continuation of difficult conversations in many homes across CISD. Confusion caused sometimes by our policies or maybe even the lack thereof. As a pastor here in Conroe, I know you have a difficult responsibility in today's culture, but each of you volunteered for your jobs. This is your opportunity to make a positive, lasting impact, bringing forth innovative change to our education system. God bless you. Thank you for your time tonight.
Diane Daniels.
Good evening. Last year, I brought to the board's attention that some teachers were incorporating CRT into their lessons. The board clearly stated that CRT is not in Conroe ISD. I do think that all of you do believe this, but examples were given to you differently. With the new year started and new teachers having been hired, how sure and confident is the board that this will once again not be taught? I suggest the board seriously look at this issue before the situation arises. Houston ISD is being sued by a parent for teaching CRT, yet stating they don't. It's just something to think about. Last year, this board also partnered with Kelsey Siebel about vaccinations and jabs. Now that the school year has started and extracurricular activities are in full swing, the concern for the children's health is my concern. Are we asking them if they had received the jab on the forms requesting to be filled out? There are serious health risks for the children who did get the jab. How are we handling this? Do you do what is right for the children and the health of the children? Doing what is right for the children means getting back to teaching, reading, writing, and arithmetic. Reinforce the basics and build confidence in these areas, and the children will truly grow and be confident and proud. The TEA downgraded our school district from an A to a B. Katy is now an A. This was on local news this morning. The school board elections are in November. I believe we need to change the Conroe ISD board. I pray that all of you will do what's right for the children and follow up on these issues I brought up. Do the right thing. I pray for all of you in your decisions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Melissa Duncan.
Good evening, board. My name is Melissa Duncan. I sit here the last couple of meetings with my head down as I hear people accusing me of supporting CRT. Drives me up the wall, even though they have no idea what they're saying, no clue. This is a quote from one of you at November 2021 board meeting. This meeting was when the teaching of critical race theory, or CRT, and the laws banning it were discussed at length. I don't bring this up in the interest of discussing CRT this evening. Aren't you glad? Instead, my reference to this statement is to serve as a reminder that this board does not believe parents and community members and leaders have any idea what they're saying about anything. I suppose this is why citizen participation is so often treated as a burden when it should be the most welcome part of these monthly meetings. Over the past several years, I began watching Conroe ISD board meetings closely.
That's when I became disheartened, mostly by the board's response or lack thereof to public concerns, whether regarding mask, student struggles, COVID response, CRT, out-of-line administrators, porn in the library, learning loss, funding, whatever the case, the board just does not seem moved by outsider input or concern. At first, this didn't make sense to me, how 7 board members are mostly always in agreement, and how only surface-level discussions and argument of, if any, take place here in the boardroom. No matter what, the board remains unified or in unanimous agreement with the actions of Mr. Knoll and district administrators and legal counsel, no matter the cost, to our teachers and our students. That said, I encourage each board member to look around. Things in Conroe ISD aren't as great as we would like, or as we would all like to believe they are, no matter how much you proclaim otherwise. The wrong ideas are being endorsed. We have widespread learning deficits and weak leadership in Conroe ISD. We have teacher and staff shortages that are not being attributed to the actual causes. There is no amount of diversity, equity, inclusion that will fix the problems at hand. By the way, these terms and ideas are the very heart of critical race theory, in case you're wondering why folks just are not buying your argument. Thank you.
Thank you.
Misty Odenwiller.
Good evening, Dr. Knoll and board members. I wanted to take my 3 minutes tonight to say thank you. As you may or may not be aware, Klein ISD only allows 1 minute for each of them to speak. I often wonder how I can possibly say what I want to express in 3, let alone 1. And if you knew me, I talk a lot. Each month, you sit here to usually listen to a community members express their concerns or dissatisfaction and displeasure with you. And it can't be an easy thing to do, especially since you aren't allowed to respond or ask questions. I'd like to say thank you for the revised policy that you put in place. For EFA, instructional resources and materials, EFB, library and materials, and to follow they will follow the Texas Penal Code 43.21 and 43.24 that have to do with basically the obscenity clauses and distribution of obscene materials to minors. When many of us came to you on May 18th and expressed our concerns regarding inappropriate materials in the classroom and libraries, you had to take our concerns and what we shared and turn it into an appropriate action. I thank you for that. The revised policy, and I look forward for it to be implemented. I have read the policy over and over, and I'm still not clear on a few questions, but I will ask those to you in a following email after tonight's meeting and give all of you an opportunity to respond. Mr. Williams isn't here, but I was going to tell him that at that May 18th meeting, he raised a very valid point. I stood at the back of the room shaking my head in agreement when he was concerned about books being removed, and this wasn't his term, willy-nilly from the libraries and from the shelves, but because of someone's dissatisfaction with history, topic, printed in materials, and resources, and I thought he was right. We shouldn't have that, and so I'm glad that there's a policy set in place to follow state laws. Boundaries, not banning. We have boundaries on books, not banning of books. Question 1, what is the status of at least 37 books brought to your attention at the May 18th meeting? Where are they in this process? 2, will the person filing the challenge be a part of the process? If I understood the review process correctly, a library specialist will choose a review committee that will include a librarian and someone that taught the material. I find that to be a little unbiased, and I would like clarification. Will there be a public posting of what books are being challenged under review decisions along with a report after the decision on their findings? And how long will the process take? What is the projected timeline from start to finish? I didn't happen to see anything on this in the policy. Again, I thank you for your time, the new revised policy, and answers to my question in advance. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Megan Piron. Megan Piron. Carrie Freemeyer.
President Hubert, members of the board, Dr. Null, good evening. Speaking on behalf of the Texas State Teachers Association, Conroe Local, we appreciate all your support in ensuring the success for our Conroe ISD employees and our students alike. We value the time you spend outside of your careers to make important decisions for all Conroe ISD, and we look forward to having another fantastic school year with a plethora of awards and recognition. Thank you.
That's all? All right. All right, thank you for all those who participated. Moving on to our consent agenda. I haven't heard from anybody to remove anything, so.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
All right.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor show by the uplifted hand. Opposed by the same sign. Motion carries. Very good. Thank you. Item 4, teaching and learning. A, receive the 2022 elementary, middle, and school summer school report.
All right, we will hear from our assistant superintendents for schools, Dr. Winkler, Dr. Medford, and Dr. Povich, to share with us the great work of our summer school programs.
Good evening, President Hubert, members of the board, and Dr. Knoll. Dr. Medford, Dr. Povich, and I appreciate the opportunity this evening to highlight the incredible work of our students and staff over the course of this past summer. Implementing a successful summer school is not an easy feat, but well worth it for the academic growth of our students. We often chuckle when Dr. Knoll refers to the size of our summer school being larger than many districts. We chuckle because it is true. Almost 6,000 students benefited from our pre-K through 12 programs this past summer. As you can imagine, welcoming almost 6,000 students within a week of ending our regular school year requires a ton of hard work by a talented group of individuals that we would like to recognize at this time. Leading the charge of coordinating our summer schools is Ms. Lisa Garrison, our Director of Elementary Education. Ms. Garrison, will you please stand? We appreciate Ms. Garrison's work in coordinating our departments and most importantly ensuring that all of our students had a high-quality summer school experience. Thank you, Ms. Garrison. Additionally, many of those people that made summer school a reality are with us tonight. That includes our summer school teachers and staff, human resource department, technology, communications, our police department, maintenance, child nutrition, custodial, payroll, finance, federal programs, transportation, and of course our amazing team from teaching and learning and our colleagues, Mr. Chris McCord, Dr. Tamika Taylor, and Dr. Edith Upshaw. If you assisted in our district summer school programs in any way, will you please stand to be recognized? Thank you for your commitment and dedication to our summer school programs and the students of Conroe ISD. So to begin with, we'll start with our elementary programs. This year we had 9 locations. We served just over 3,000 students, had 326 teachers and instructional coaches, 78 paraprofessionals, 11 administrators, 8 counselors, 8 nurses, 2 clinic aides, 8 librarians, and 10 ESY support. ESY is our extended school year services for our special education students, and that included physical, occupational, and speech therapists. So we had quite a crew in the elementary crowd. We had campuses, and we have our principals of these campuses here tonight that I'm also going to recognize individually. We had summer school at Bradley Elementary, and our principal there was Sunny Nowlin. We also had summer school at Giesinger Elementary with Laura Bringman. Sarah Howard, our summer school principal at Haley Elementary, is getting her son off to college, but we do appreciate all of her hard work. Christelle Marshall was at Hauser Elementary. Katie Moe was at Houston Elementary. Ryan Stepp was at Milam Elementary. Laura Sims was at Lamar Elementary. And Dr. LaTori Jacobs was at Rice Elementary. And Amy Owen was our principal of our Wilkerson Elementary Extended School Year Services, and she was unable to be with us tonight, but we certainly appreciate her as well. These leaders were absolutely amazing. If you walked into summer school within an hour and a half of them being in class, students were learning, they were in small group, they were going. And we were just so absolutely proud of them, and we know it's because of the leadership and the hard work of these people we just recognized. So we look at elementary summer school in two ways. The first way is our academic programs, and we have a couple of academic programs we want to share with you this evening. So we have sort of an umbrella called Passport to Learning, where we have students from our Title I campuses. Those are our students that are at risk. Our academic enrichment programs, these are students that we saw had some learning loss, some of it due to COVID, some of it just struggling students, and sometimes parents just wanted to have their students in summer school, and they were served through the academic enrichment program. And then our STAR camp, and this was students that weren't successful on STAR, and they had to have hours for House Bill 4545 to get some of their credit for interventions. So while this curriculum did look the same in many ways, we were targeting different students for sure. That curriculum looks a lot like you see when you come into our classrooms. There's a lot of small group instruction, a lot of hands-on, and we do try to keep the classes a little bit smaller than we would in the regular year. This program has historically been a half-day program, and we extended it to a full-day program this year, which was helpful for students and their learning loss recovery, but it also, for elementary students, helped our parents with childcare, which has sometimes been challenging with a half-day program. These students also received free breakfast and lunch through our community feeding program that is provided by the federal government. So we had about 732 students in our title program, 254 in our academic enrichment, and 553 in our Camp STAR. So a lot of students impacted by this program. Our bilingual and ESL programs target our students where English is not their first language. Pre-K and K is required by the federal government, and as a board, you've decided to also help our first and second grade students, and they look at the areas of reading, math, and language acquisition. We had 794 bilingual students in this program and 421 in our ESL program. We also have extended year services, as we talked about before. This is for our students with special needs, and the ARD committee, which is made up of school staff and the parents, help make this decision. And when we see that students may show signs of regression, or they've had a pattern of regression where we think they might regress over the summer, we will invite them to be a part of our ESY program. There's 2 sessions. A student could go to one or both of those sessions, and this year in pre-K to 4, we had 137 students participate. We also have enrichment programs, and these programs last about a week, and this is based on the interest of students and parents that want to bring them to these programs. So we listed a little bit of the activities that go on because this is not something that you typically see when you walk through our classrooms. So we have experiencing robotics. And in our robotics program, you've seen the high school students with their super cool robots that can do things, and they can program things I could never even imagine. But we start them at a very young age when they show interest. And so some of the students are learning with a robot to program a predetermined course where there's lines and they figure out how to program that robot. Some students have more experience with robotics, and so they make their own course. They might add in different attachments where they can pick things up and move them around. And then at the end of the week, the parents get to come in and they get to show off to their parents all the cool things that they've learned that week in robotics. And we had about 68 students participate in that program. We added the Gifted and Talented program this year, so this was kind of a pilot year for us with the Gifted and Talented program. And our GT learners were able to come in and do some activities based on Shark Week. And as Dr. Hines says, who doesn't like Shark Week? Yeah. So this theme continued for each day that they were there. They got to do things like put on the virtual goggles and go underwater with the sharks and explore the sharks. And it ended in a culminating group project where they had to create a diver shark tank where, you know, the divers go down and look at the sharks. They were given different materials to make that, and the team that their cage could sustain the most weight, they were crowned the winners of that. So that was very cool. We had 84 students participate in that, and since that program, kind of word got around about that program, we've had a lot of interest in it, and so we would anticipate next year that we would have more students participating in that as well, and that is all because of the creativity of our great TNL staff. So for expenditures, you will see that we spent federal dollars on summer school this year through Title I, ESSER, and Title III, which supports, Title III supports our ESL and bilingual students. And we spent just short of $2.7 million on our summer school programs. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Medford.
Thank you, Dr. Winkler. We are excited to share what our middle school students were able to participate in this summer. Just as our elementary, Dr. Winkler shared, we were able to really grow our middle school division this year and really offer a lot more opportunities for our students. We basically doubled our sites with 7 locations. We had over 1,500 students, 106 teachers, 13 paraprofessionals, 9 administrators, 6 counselors, 6 librarians, 7 nurses, 6 clinic aides, and 12 instructional coaches to support our programs. And just like our elementary group, we have some rock stars who led this work for us this year. I'd like to recognize them. Serving our Oak Ridge and Grand Oaks feeder, they were at Suchma Elementary, led by Mr. Joe Rowland. Grangerland hosted the Caney Creek site, and they actually had our 3rd and 4th graders from Milam, so that was the 3rd through 6th grade campus, and that was led by Dr. Catherine Brennan. Wilkerson Intermediate hosted College Park in the Woodlands feeder students, led by Dr. James Bishop. Travis Intermediate was our Conroe feeder site, led by Pam Britton. McCullough Junior High was our South County Junior High site. The principal was Tanya West. Stockton Junior High served as our North County site, led by Kelsey Meredith. And our intermediate through high school ESY site was also housed at Stockton Junior High, and the principal was Lara Vasquez. So these guys got to have lots of fun because for the first time ever, our intermediate and junior high programs were full day. So in this leadership opportunity, they got to create master schedules for all the different variety of students and size to make sure that our students were busy and taken care of for an entire day for the first time, which also included art and PE. So it was good for our middle kids to get those opportunities this year. So just like our elementary, we offered Passport to Learning. That's for our junior high students, 5th and 6th graders. Same concept as Dr. Winkler shared, really looking at learning loss, filling in those gaps, really focusing on those core contents, math, reading, and science for our intermediate students. They were able to work on their intervention hours for House Bill 4545 as well, and we were able to serve a large number, a little over 800 students in that program. Our junior high, like we said, for the first time, instead of just having credit recovery where they just came for the 1 or 2 subjects that they needed, they were able to participate in all of the curriculum that we offer, the core curriculum. So reading, math, science, and social studies. And then, like I said, we added in art and PE for them for the full day, and we're able to serve breakfast and lunch as well. But those students were able to not only get the credit recovery if that's what they needed, but we're also able to help them fill in those gaps as we're looking forward to them moving forward into high school and watching them walk across the stage. So we were really excited to help fill in some of those gaps and really support them as they move forward. So they did a great job. We continue to offer the online accelerated math for those students that want to accelerate those courses. We offered 7th grade math, 8th grade math, and Algebra 1, and we had 170 students take advantage of that opportunity. We also offered dyslexia interventions. Our focus for those students were they're nearing the completion of their dyslexia program. And so they took the opportunity to come this summer, which allowed them to either remain in their class if they're an intermediate student or add an elective because they had completed the program. So we had 36 students who took advantage of that, a really small number based on the number of kids who it was appropriate for moving forward. Extended school year, just as Dr. Winkler mentioned, is for our kiddos who have critical skills that they need to be addressed based on ARD committee decision. And so largest group ever that we served this summer, 148 students at Stockton. So we were proud to be able to support those kiddos. And then for the first time, we were able to expand our enrichment for our middle school students as well. We were able to serve about 118 kiddos. We had students that participated in band enrichment camp, being able to grow those skills over the summer, really working on sight reading, learning new music, and just those musical memories. Gifted and Talented had the same project that the elementary kids did. With the Shark Week theme and creating projects, adding in those upper level skills where they started talking about adaptations and diet and all these different really cool stuff. They were excited, they loved it. And then same thing with robotics, offering that opportunity for students who may have not had experience with it before, so that they have the opportunity to participate at that high level at high school if they choose. And then for our expenditures, you can see all of ours landed in one nice little column. ESSER 3 was support. We were grateful for that opportunity to support these kids, add enrichment, add the full day. It's really great for our middle school students. So we thank you for that, a little over 1.1 million. So I will turn it over to Dr. Povich.
Good evening. The District High School Summer School Program was held at College Park. We wanted to thank Dr. Merle and his staff for graciously hosting it. Our district summer school principal was Sarah Dorsey. I believe Ms. Dorsey is here this evening. If you know Ms. Dorsey, she's very excited, passionate, and an enthusiast. I happened to have the pleasure of being there at lunchtime, and she missed no moment to grab a kid and encourage them to keep working at it. So like she does every day at Grand Oaks, she carried that there for summer school, and you could see the passion going through with her staff there as well for all of our kids, and I appreciate it. One of the summer school programs for high school is the accelerated math program, and it's for geometry. As a past math teacher, this program I'm especially excited about. It's intended for freshmen who are taking Algebra 1. They actually start in the month of April, so they're still taking their high school courses as a freshman, and then they're starting this geometry course. The advantage for this, the purpose for this class is so that the student finishes geometry in the summer, and then their sophomore year, they can take Algebra 2. This allows that student then to take pre-cal, and then their senior year, they can hit calculus. So this is a great program that gets our kids who still want to take calculus but didn't have that Algebra 1 in 8th grade, they could still get that calculus in. So very excited about that program for our students. Another program is all the other accelerated initial credit classes. All these courses in our 4 cores and electives are students who are electing to take these classes for the first time to get ahead in their schedule. A lot of times these students are taking these courses so that they can provide opportunities for advanced courses in the future. And also, some of our students are interested in graduating early from high school. And so that's where these courses here are offered for our students. These classes start in May. The other high school program is our recovering classes here. Again, you see a lot of the 4 cores and some electives. These classes here are extremely vital for our students for graduation purposes. It also helps keep all of our kids on track for graduation and credit recovery. The high school program had 76 teachers, 4 paraprofessionals, 4 administrators, 2 counselors, an instructional aide, nurse, clinic aide, and 2 support facilitators at College Park High School. Our total budget for the high school was $734,319. Most of that was in the ESSER funds as well. Okay, in summary, for the high school summer school program, we had 1,311 students attend the district high school program. We had 1,923 courses that were completed, 513 initial high school credits earned both by high school and junior high students. That was actually about 100 more classes or credits than last year, which is extremely impressive. So these are kids who are giving up the summer to come in and advance their courses and get ahead. And then you see there that 98% of those students earned their credit for high school on that. That's impressive, and that is extremely important and vital in order to keep our kids graduating on time. So that, again, is attributed to the hard work of all of our staff there and our parents' support for our summer school programs, and we appreciate that. In summary, for the CISD summer school programs, you've heard some of these numbers, but I think it's of value to repeat it. We had 3,052 elementary students this past summer, 1,582 intermediate and junior high students attend summer school, and 1,311 for a total of 5,945 students attending summer school this past summer. We're extremely proud of that. And once again, we would just like to thank all our teachers, staff, and principals that made this possible. Thank you.
Questions, thoughts?
Yeah, Dr. Povich.
Yes,
How does that 6,000 number compare to previous years?
I can tell you that. Hold on. Last year, we spent 629,000, so it's
No,
what?
the 6,000
Total students.
Oh, total students, total students.
Are we seeing more participation in summer school?
We have more participation. I have to go back and look at the total. I think the junior high was up, high school was about the same, and I think elementary was up. On the high school, the interesting piece is the recovery classes went down, but the initial credit went up. So it was good. Elementary?
Elementary had about 450 more students than last year.
Okay, good.
So, yeah.
Middle school's doubled, we about doubled, we had 800 last year, about 1,500.
Nice. And
So-
we're seeing it proportionally, credit recovery is going down and more advantage of these other cool classes.
That's a good sign,
Yeah,
yes.
very good. Cool.
Would y'all mind if we maybe invited the summer school principals to come through and just shake their hands so we
Sure.
can tell them thank you?
Love
I think that'd be great if we could do that. Come on through. Come on, principals, here we go.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Nice job. Appreciate it.
Wonderful job. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Great job and thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir, for everything you do.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Stay safe. Thank you for
Thanks so much.
Nice to see you again.
Sorry to miss your summer. Thanks so much.
Tried to give them a little window there. They gotta be at work early in the morning.
Yeah, they got to be at work.
You should cheer them up.
That's awesome.
Maybe go over and high five and whale like a football game or something.
All right. Very good. All right, moving on. That was a great report. I'm glad to see the success that they were having, especially the students. That was good stuff. Moving on to item 5A, consider acceptance of the 2019 Life Cycle Construction Project.
All right,
Is
Mr.
that
Foster.
easy? Mr. Foster?
So good evening, President Hubert, members of the board, and Dr. Null. It's my pleasure to bring forward for your consideration the acceptance as complete, our life cycle project from 2019. As you recall, our board policy requires all projects over $1 million to come in forward before you for approval before we make the final payment to the contractor. We've been through all the financial documents with our contractor for this project, which was GTT Contractors here in Conroe. We have went through the financials and we've calculated a total return savings and allowances of $83,789.28. So it reduces the overall contract and the, subsequently the final payment to the contractor for the work they did. And this time we're requesting your approval.
All right, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any questions? It's not bad saving money, especially in this market. Nice job.
Yes,
All
thank
right.
you.
All those in favor, show by the uplifted hand. And any opposed by the same sign. Very good. Motion carries. While you're up there, we'll consider acceptance of the Washington High School conversion project.
All right. Likewise, with the project before, this is a project over $1 million that requires your approval to accept as complete before we make the final payment to the contractor. Again, our contractor here was GTT, General Contractors here in Conroe. After we reviewed the financial documents and all the change orders and everything associated with the cost of the work on this project, we've determined we're returning allowance and savings in the amount of $132. So we are reducing the contract by $132, but we're requesting your approval as accepted.
Take every dime.
This time we're requesting your approval.
All right. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second? All right, so Mr. Inman was a motion and Ms. Chase was a second. Any questions or conversation? All right, seeing none, all those in favor show by the uplifted hand. And any opposed by the same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, and then receive capital improvements update. Excuse me.
Indeed. This time I'd like to bring an update of our capital improvements for your viewing pleasure here tonight. So we'll start with our safety and security project of 2022. Again, this is a representation of where we've been working. The project is security cameras, access control, the impact-resistant films on the vestibules, things like that as we make our way through the district. This project is on schedule and is proceeding as we had planned. We are scheduled to continue working through the end of the calendar year, and then next year we look forward to bringing for your approval the final installment of the safety and security program for the whole bond referendum. It should bring it to you in January for work through next calendar year to get that work completed for the entire district, but this project is on schedule. Our campus renovations for 2022, this is Gladys Elementary, so we were able to get it ready for school. We did the work that we had promised we would do over the summer. The equipment that was planned to arrive in the fall semester is beginning to arrive this week, as a matter of fact. So this weekend and next weekend and a few weekends after this, we'll be replacing some of the long lead equipment that was ordered to be replaced for this project. So the project is on schedule as we'd planned. School happened there last week as we'd promised, and the contract will be racking up the details over the next several weeks, and then we'll be done with that project. At Creighton Elementary, this is the overhaul of the elementary site there. This summer was focused on expanding the kitchen and serving lines so we could better serve that population. I'm happy to report we did serve lunch in that campus on Wednesday last week when the students returned from their summer break. So that campus is operating. The contract will be wrapping up the details there, and we'll be closing that project out very soon as well. Now, New Moorhead Junior High School, this project is scheduled to open for students in August of 2023. So it is currently on schedule. The next big milestone for us is to fully dry in the main building. That is very near happening. We're working through the process of starting up the air conditioning systems as we speak so that we can begin the finishes on the inside of that building and bring it towards its completion. Overall, it is on schedule and is scheduled to open in August of 2023. At Conroe High School, this is the major overhaul of the Conroe High School site. So from this angle, you can see a good representation of the CTE on the right-hand part of the screen. That building is nearing its dried-in stage. In the kind of upper center, kind of just left of center, is the new gym, locker rooms, and other athletic facilities. The completion of those two facilities is actually needed to start doing the classroom swap on that building as we continue to work our way around. We're scheduled to turn over those two facilities in the middle of the spring semester, which is currently on schedule. You can see the athletic field in the lower part of the picture was open to the football programs when they started practice the first week of August. So the project is on schedule. We'll be on that site through the calendar year 2025. Oak Ridge High School is an overhaul of the systems that work in the overhaul of the systems that make the high school work, and the South County CTE building, which will bring new CTE programs into our southern part of the district. So you can see in the kind of just left of center is the new administration area. That building is coming along very nicely. We're putting walls up and getting ready for window frames, things of that nature that'll bring that to a dry state over the next couple of months. During the winter break, we should be moving the administration from their existing suite into the new suite. So next semester, the front door of Oak Ridge High School will be in a new location. You can see the structural steel in the upper part of the center left screen is the new CTE wing of the building that's currently under construction. It is on schedule and scheduled to turn over for our use for the 23-24 school year. So in total, the project is on schedule, and we'll finish that job in August of 2023. At Hines Elementary School, this indeed. So this building is on schedule, and it's scheduled to open in August of 2023 as well. So you can see from our progress with the structural steel, the floor decks, and the roof deck. First roof deck concrete pour is coming this week. So that project, as I say, is on schedule and will open at this time next year. Now our new maintenance and child nutrition facility, that building is moving along nicely as well. So we got a picture on the one foggy day of the year so far. So you can see they're working, the building slabs are in, the building structure is behind one of those small clouds there that you can see being erected currently. They're working on site paving and other parking lot entities currently. We're scheduled to turn that over building for our use next summer. So summer of 23, our maintenance department will move in and we'll have a combined facility for maintenance, child nutrition, and custodial all in one location. At Caney Creek High School, this is our upgrade project, as Caney Creek is now a 6A campus of ours. So we turned over here recently the training rooms for the athletic for sports that are working in the this fall semester, so football, volleyball, into basketball, so they have that facility for their use. We're currently working through the locker rooms and the showers and the other facilities now, and we'll turn them over as they complete throughout the semester. We're also working on the new front entry there, so you can see the building structure is there being detailed and put in, and so over the next several weeks, we'll start getting more and more deliveries, and at the beginning of September, we should receive the glass frames, all the other things that make that a new front entry. And we look forward to turning the front entry over for our use in the middle of the fall semester, so it'll be a mid-semester break. But we want to get them to their full secure venue as quickly as we can throughout the course of the project. Overall, the project is on schedule and will be there through the summer of 2023. At Collins Intermediate, this is where we're working on several things. One of those is the gym addition that allow us to separate lunch from the PE activities. So you can see the building slab is there. Over the next couple of weeks, we'll receive the steel. That'll be the structure for that gym. And this one should proceed in the normal course of events, unlike the project that we had to be innovative on last year. But our intent is to turn the gym over for our use when the children return from the winter break. So in January, we should be playing basketball inside that facility. The project also includes some life cycle elements inside the main building, and the contractor worked on some of those this summer. They'll continue working on them in the evenings and weekends throughout the school year, and then we'll finish that project in the summer of 23. So we'll be on that site and complete in August of 2023. And that's our update.
All right. Will that gym look similar to Gordon Reed gym?
On the interior?
Yeah.
Yes, it will. So
Okay.
one of the added features for that we can do in the retrofits is a larger exterior door to help incorporate some of the outside play in a more efficient manner. But the same type of gym floor, the same type of gym equipment.
Okay.
So in general, it will bring everything up to the current standard for what we're building.
That was nice. One additional question
Certainly.
on Conroe High School. The entrance is now flipped, is that correct?
At Conroe High School, the entrance and exit is essentially just like it was last year. So the front door is still on Highway 105 out here on West Davis. It'll be later in the project when we actually move admin to the Wilson roadside, and then we've got a couple of years before we actually engage the 911 operators and all the other processes to change the address of that facility for that. But that's a later phase of our construction. Currently, we're working through some venues that will allow us to move students out of the rotunda, out of the annex, and then move them into the new buildings, move fine arts to the old gyms, and do some shuffling so that we can start removing the older buildings that will allow us to create the new cafeteria, which is in the next phase of construction. And then we'll get into the new admin section once the cafeteria and the new kitchens are built.
Okay. And the Caney Creek High School, the front door there is expected still late October?
Thereabouts, yes.
Was there any like unforeseen issues with taking away that entrance? Any safety things that came
Well, I mean, and there was lots of safety considerations as we worked with the campus to make sure they had the right facilities to help parents come in and out, and the people watching the front door not be isolated all by themselves. It's not perfect where it's at, because we have a lot more things to do. We're using the original Moorhead Junior High entrance. So it was kind of set up the right way, but we've turned our operations around the other direction as Caney Creek High School. So we've kind of makeshifted it back into its original position. But it is also makeshift, so we want to get them to their final destination as quickly as we can.
It's far from ideal, but they had a great plan. I mean, it was so well thought out that it's functioning well. Dr. Povich, anything you would say from the campus?
They have a temporary entrance that you go in, and it's secluded from the hallway and so forth, so you're not just walking in and exposed to all the students.
Yeah, I know y'all had a great plan in place, but sometimes reality, unforeseen things happen, but it sounds like everything operated according to plan.
Generally, and our contractors are generally responsive to our needs immediately, so if we find something worked on Monday, but Tuesday is a completely different animal, they're on site to help us adjust as we need it.
Cool, thank you.
You're welcome. All right,
Very good.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item 6A, consider award of RFP 220402, property, boiler and machinery, crime and active shooter, malicious acts insurance. This would be Mr. Rick Reeves. Rockstar. Drummer extraordinaire.
Side job there. Yeah. Good evening, President Hubert, members of the board, and Dr. Null. Tonight we're requesting that the board considers awarding RFP 220402 for property, boiler and machinery, crime and active shooter, malicious acts insurance to Souls Insurance for a total annual premium of $3,041,142. The request for proposals pertaining to this insurance coverage for the district was emailed to registered vendors through electronic e-bidding system, advertised on the purchasing website, and also in the courier. Vendors were asked to provide an annual premium amount for these coverages for the district. We had 2 proposals that were submitted. The policy shall be effective September 1st, 2022 to September 1st, 2023, with an option to renew annually for 4 additional 1-year terms through September 1st, 2027. I have Mr. Joe Blasi with McGriff, Seibels, and Williams, who's our district's insurance and risk management consultant here, conducted the analysis of the insurance proposals for us. The analysis was evaluated by the finance department and reviewed by the purchasing department. At this time, we request your approval.
Do we have a motion?
Move we approve as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions or thoughts? I have a question for you, just real quick. On the malicious acts, we've had this insurance in the past. And is there anything that we're adding to the insurance policy that we haven't had in the past?
No.
No? No?
Nothing
Okay.
additional.
Okay, very good.
How much did it go up? You said we had this, was this a rider?
It went up 10%, but we did add Gordon Reed Elementary this year as well, so versus last year, so.
Okay, very good. Any other questions? All right, seeing none, all those in favor show by the uplifted hand. The opposed by the same sign. All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
While you're up there, we'll do the rest of these. Consider award of RFP 220601, kitchen supplies, small equipment.
Again, we're requesting that the board considers awarding RFP 220601 for our kitchen supplies, our small equipment, to our vendors listed below for an estimated annual expenditure of approximately $200,000. We have Atex Restaurant Supply, Econopack LLC, Commercial Kitchens, and Sam Tell & Son Incorporated. These requests for proposals were pertaining to the purchase of these supplies for the district. Were also registered, emailed to our registered vendors through our e-bidding system and advertised on the website and in the courier. Vendors were asked to offer firm unit prices for various commonly used small kitchen supplies for our child nutrition department, so pans, utensils, et cetera. Pricing shall be firm for 1 year through August 31st, 2023, automatically renewing annually for 2 additional 1-year terms through August 31st of 2025. We did have those 5 vendors submit a response. The proposal was evaluated by the child nutrition department and reviewed by the purchasing department. Our best value offers are recommended for board award. Funds for these purchases are provided in the child nutrition fund, and at this time we request your approval.
Do we have a motion?
Motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second the motion.
All right. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor show by the uplifted hand. And any opposed by the same sign. Very good. Motion carries. And C, consider award of RFP 220602, kitchen large equipment. Now we got the small out of the way. Let's go to the large.
That's correct. We're requesting that the board considers awarding RFP 220602 for our kitchen large equipment to our vendors listed for an estimated annual expenditure of $750,000. It's Pueblo Hotel Supply, Atex Restaurant Supply, Commercial Kitchens, and A-Smart Restaurant Supply. These requests for proposals pertaining to the purchase of our large kitchen equipment was also emailed to our registered vendors through our e-bidding system, advertised on the purchasing website, and in the courier. These vendors were asked to offer firm unit prices for various commonly used large kitchen equipment for our child nutrition department. These prices shall be firm for 1 year through August 31st, 2023, automatically renewing annually for 2 additional 1-year terms through August 31st, 2025. We had 6 vendors submit a response. The proposal was evaluated by the child nutrition and the maintenance departments and reviewed by the purchasing department. Our best value offers are recommended for board award. The funds for these purchases are provided in the child nutrition fund, and at this time, we request your approval.
So moved.
Have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second the motion.
All right. Do we have any questions or thoughts? Very good. Call those. All those in favor show by the uplifted hand. And any opposed by the same sign. Very good. Motion carries. Consider award of RFP 220603 refrigerated trailer.
Yes. We're requesting that the board considers awarding RFP 220603 for refrigerated trailer to Polar King for an estimated expenditure of approximately $80,000. The request for proposals pertaining to the purchase of refrigerated trailers for our child nutrition department was emailed through our e-bidding system, advertised twice in the courier and also on the purchasing website. These line item prices will be available, effective for 90 days from time of award through November 16th of 2022. They just can't hold pricing very long these days. So we had 1 vendor submit a response. These proposals were evaluated by the CISD Child Nutrition Department, the Maintenance Department, and reviewed by the Purchasing Department. Funds for the purchase of this trailer are provided in the Child Nutrition Fund, and at this time, we request your approval.
Motion.
Very good. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any questions?
I just have one question. Is this a replacement or is this a new one?
This is a new one.
It's in addition?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
They've had, for our child nutrition department, they've had to rent these when
That's what I was thinking.
those go out, so
this
this
is
allow
gonna
us to
take
get
care of
quick.
doing away with those
Yes, sir.
rentals.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
What are they used for? Was this, they
So when
drive
it- when the-
itself, or you hook it up as a bumper pull?
When the refrigerator goes down, we're able to take a maintenance department, hook up to a trailer and get it to wherever it needs to go, and they can move everything out and keep everything from spoiling.
It was just a bumper pull trailer?
Correct.
And how much you say it was?
Approximately 80,000.
80?
Yes, sir.
And it's just one?
Yes, sir.
Just out of curiosity, dimensions on it roughly?
It's about 25 feet. I think it's 25 by 8.5 feet. About 135 square feet inside of it.
And, any freezer components in there, or just refrigeration only?
I believe it's just refrigeration. Is that right? Yeah, just refrigeration on that.
All my questions.
Okay. All those in favor show by the uplifted hand. Any opposed by the same sign?
Thank you.
Very good. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Moving on to item 7, our public hearing. I'd like to recess.
Yeah, I'll just mention, Mr. Hubert, if you don't mind, if we could just pull, we'll request that you pull item 6E. We'll consider that at a future meeting, so we will not
Sure.
present that this evening.
Yep, gotcha. All right, thank you. Moving on to item 7A, which is our public meeting. We will recess at this time. I'll turn the time over to Dr. Knoll.
Thank you. All right, this time we will convene our second public hearing for our annual budget and tax rate. Once again, tonight, Mr. Rice will be presenting information, and at the conclusion of his presentation, will be an opportunity for comment as well. Sure. Ms. Rice, go ahead.
All right. Good evening, President Hubert, members of the board, Dr. Knoll, and community members. It is my pleasure to present the 2022-2023 proposed budget. First, I would like to thank the Finance Office staff for their work on the budget this year. Ms. Karen Garza, Janice Sowers, Cindy Westrup, who is not able to be with us this evening, Rachel Batella, and the whole finance team. They are all very instrumental in preparing the budget. I would also like to thank the CISD board for participating in our numerous board workshops, and we appreciate your input and guidance you've provided over the last 7 months. Our financial highlights. We will start with recognizing a few of our financial highlights for the year. First, we received a perfect score, earning a superior rating for the year ended August 31st, 2021, from the state's Financial Accountability Rating System, known as the Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas, or FIRST Report. We also received a clean audit from our independent auditors, Weaver, for the year ended August 31st, 2021. Texas Smart Schools is a program that was started in the State Comptroller's Office that rates all Texas school districts, both on financial and academic performance. Conroe ISD is one of only 2 ISDs to receive the highest rating of 5 stars for all 12 years of the program. So now let's talk about transparency. Transparency is something CISD takes very seriously. 13 years ago, when the State Comptroller's Office came out with a program to establish transparency guidelines and award recognitions for all forms of state governments, CISD was the first district in the state to earn transparency awards for our finance, debt, and purchasing presentations. 13 years later, we continue to not only meet those guidelines, but exceed them. All of this information can be found on the district transparency website. Some of the items that you will find on this website include tax rate disclosures, multiple revenue and expenditure presentations, our annual financial statements, check registers for both our payroll and AP systems. And for those that are wanting budget information, the website includes a by-department raw format budget information that's downloadable for Excel. It also includes our award-winning budget book. And this is a 380-page presentation of the budget that drills down in the budget from an executive summary all the way to matching each department and every campus's line item budget allocation to their goals and objectives. And this budget presentation will also be on the website. And this is just a sample of the useful information that is available on our transparency website. Our budget calendar. The budget calendar is a tool that identifies important milestones in the budget process. Throughout the budget process, the finance staff is working diligently to ensure our budget is fiscally responsible and making sure that we're providing the economic resources needed so our students can be academically successful. So just to identify a few dates throughout the year that we work on the budget. February 1st, that was our first board workshop, and at that meeting we discussed our budget projections and our goals with the board. In the month of February, we had our initial planning meeting with TASB to discuss our compensation plan for 2022-2023. And also in February, we had our benefits design and rate planning with our Employee Benefits Committee. And at the April 5th board workshop to discuss the budget, TASB presented the compensation plan to the board. And at that meeting, we also presented our benefit plan design to the board. At our April 19th regular board meeting, our benefit plan design was approved. On May 5th, at our special board meeting, our compensation plan was approved by the board for 2022-2023. July 13th, we had a meeting with the district level planning and decision-making committee to discuss the 2022-2023 budget. And at that budget, they voted unanimously to recommend this budget to our board for approval this evening. On August 2nd, we had our first public hearing on the budget and tax rate, and tonight, at our regular board meeting, we're having our second public hearing on the budget and tax rate, and later on this evening, we will ask the board to adopt the 2022-2023 budget and our tax rate. So moving to the budget itself, we will begin with the major components that drive our budget. And these are our budget objectives for the 2022-2023 year, and they include to meet the needs for the 22-23 school year. We did open Gordon Reed Elementary, and we want to provide a competitive compensation plan. As we know, last month inflation records showed an 8.5% inflation rate. We want to utilize an aggressive approach to staffing allocations to hire the best teachers available in a tight job market. We want to continue to provide the supplies and equipment for maintaining a safe and productive learning environment for our students and staff. We always want to know and check on our fund balance, and our goal is to maintain an unassigned fund balance in the range of 20 to 25% of our budget. So using our 25% target, our projected unassigned fund balance as of 8/31/22 is $178.5 million. Our target of 25% is $155 million, showing available $23.5 million. And these funds are proposed to designate for future land purchases. Our attendance data schedule. This is probably the most important schedule we'll look at this evening, and that is because our enrollment and ADA are the two biggest factors that determine our revenues and our expenditures. And that is because our expenditure budget is based on our enrollment, and our revenue is generated based off of our average daily attendance. This year, we're using an enrollment of 69,515 students. That is an increase of 1,750 students over last year, and I think we've already met or exceeded that number this morning, so we're very happy we met that goal. And our ADA percentage of 94%.
Yeah, just to be, today we are at 69,612 students, so from this date last year, we are now up 3,000 students more than we were on this date last year, which we did 3,000 more last year as well.
3,200. So this chart shows our enrollment growth over the last 10 years. You know, previously we could pencil in 1,500 students. In 2020, 2021, we did have a little dip, but that was the COVID year. However, we rebounded in 21-22 with a growth of 3,200 students. And once again, this year anticipating, or they are here, 1,750 new students for 69,515. Our certified property values grew at a rate of 20.92%, or $9 billion, bringing our total certified value to $52.1 billion. And this is very important to note that our growth in certified property values provides no net new revenue to our general fund. It is the primary source of revenue for our debt service fund. That is where the fund that we pay our mortgage on our buildings, but no net new revenue in our general fund. Very important note. Because there is a misconception by some in the public that with growing property values, the district will have a windfall of money in our operating budget, and that is just not true. This slide demonstrates how higher property values do not increase the district's general fund revenue. The increased property value benefits the state, not the district. The slide on the right is straight off TEA's website, and it shows that as our property values go up and increases our local tax revenue, the state reduces its funding for the school district dollar for dollar. The slide on the left shows that no matter what the property value increase is, whether it's 5% or 20%, our state calculated entitlement remains the same at $576 million. The only change is the portion that the state pays versus what our local taxpayers pay. So looking at our tax rate for this year we're recommending a tax rate of $1.1146. That is 26 cents on our debt service tax rate and 85.46 cents on our maintenance and operation tax rate. And if you will look at the little note on the right, our M&O tax rate is calculated by TEA. As we receive our property value information from the appraisal district, we forward that information to TEA and they calculate what our tax rate will be for the next year. So that is very important. This tax rate is a decrease from last year of 6.14 cents. And since 2018-2019, it is a 16.54 cent tax rate decrease. So where does that tax rate put us when we compare ourselves to the greater Houston area? If you look on the far right, that is Conroe ISD. We're the second lowest tax rate in the greater Houston area at $1.1146. The school districts in the dark blue, those are our local Montgomery County school districts. In the light green, those are our peer school districts that we compare to and compete with, not only financially, but also academically. So now that we have looked at the components that drive the budget, we will look at the effect that they have on the budget, beginning with our 2022-2023 revenue projections. Our local revenue, based off of our 20.92% value increase and a tax rate that's calculated by TEA at 85.46 cents, will generate $50.6 million. However, as we discussed earlier, our state funding will decrease based on House Bill 3 calculations by $50.6 million. So that is a dollar for dollar decrease. Our state funding will increase based off of our 1,750 student growth by $29.01 million. We are able to increase our interest revenue, just because interest rates have risen. We will earn a little bit more, by about $2.5 million. And a new program, the Teacher Incentive Allotment, first time this year, $2.2 million, for total estimated available funding of $33.71 million. So now moving to the expenditure side of the budget, we will take a look at this year's pay increase, and we will start with the TASB salary study. TASB stands for Texas Association of School Boards. They conduct a comprehensive survey of salaries, stipends, and pay practices for Texas public school districts. Participation ensures that the district has access to the most recent market data available to pay competitive salaries and hire the best employees. It also allows the district to evaluate our compensation plan as compared to districts in our area that are hiring from the same applicant pool. So after working through the compensation program process, this is our approved 2022-2023 general pay increase. For our teachers, librarians, it is a $1,500 increase, or 2.4% on the midpoint. That is at a cost of $6.2 million. All other employees will receive a 2% raise. That is at a cost of $6.8 million, for a total cost of $13 million. We also increased our hourly minimum to $13 per hour for all of our full-time hourly employees. This is our approved 2023 teacher hiring schedule. Once again, a 2.4% general pay increase, which is equivalent to $1,500. We do have some adjustments for years 1 through 6 of $300, and a starting teacher salary this year of $60,000. So moving to staffing, one of our goals this year was to be aggressive with our hiring of teachers, and part of that included some adjustings to our staffing formulas. We adjusted our student-teacher ratio in our pre-K area from 22:1 to 19:1. That is at a cost of $1 million. And at grades 5 and 6, from 26:1 to 25:1 at a cost of $600,000. For support at the campus level to accommodate 1,750 new students, staffing formula changes, and the opening of Gordon Reed Elementary, our 2022-2023 additional personnel includes 195 new positions that consist of 163 teachers, 31 paraprofessionals, with a total cost of $13,450,000. This is our 2022-2023 estimated expenditure increase. Once again, general pay increase was $13 million. Additional personnel for growth, $13.45 million. We did increase our substitute pay and a stipend increase at our junior high level at a cost of $620,000. Once again, the first year of our teacher incentive allotment, $2.1 million. We are removing the employee retention stipend from the general fund. However, the employee retention stipend will be paid out of our ESSER monies. That will be $500 this fall, and then another $1,000 in the spring semester. We're increasing our utility budget by $2 million. That is just due to the increase in fuel costs. And then also fuel increased by $1 million. Other expenses, including insurance, supplies, et cetera, $1.54 million, for total expenditure increase of $23.71 million. So this is our 2022-2023 proposed budget. On the revenue side, our beginning revenue was $586.12 million. We had total estimated revenue increase of $33.71 million for estimated total revenue of $619.83 million. On the expenditure side, our beginning expenditures were $596.12 million. We have total estimated expenditure increase of $23.71 million for estimated total expenditures of $6.1983 million. This is a balanced budget, and this is a 3.98% increase over last year's budget. This chart shows our budget broken down by major object. As you can see, we're very people intensive. Payroll makes up 89.31% of our budget. Contracted services make up 5.14% of our budget. The largest item in there is our utility bill. Supplies and materials make up 4.1% of our budget. The largest item in there is fuel for our buses. And equipment and other make up the final 1.45%, and the largest item in there is our property insurance for our buildings. Total budget, $619,827,991. This is the format that we will be asking the board to adopt the budget in later this evening. And this is the notice of public meeting that was posted in the newspaper and on our website, and of course, it's part of this presentation. That is
All
the
right.
end of the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. I'll let you adjust the podium back to the middle of the room here. Thank you, sir. At this time, we would open up for any comments on Mr. Rice's presentation. If you would like to make a comment, if you please come to the podium and state your name, and we'll have 2 minutes for a comment. All right, seeing none. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, my name's April Kersey. I just have a question. It's a process question. It's probably more for our speaker. So the TASB salary study that's given, is there the 2.4% increase for personnel salary, is that from the salary study? Okay. Are we bound to use that, or that's up to our discretion?
That's up to the board's discretion.
Okay.
Yeah, we
I just
give.
want to understand the process.
Yeah, we give TASB the parameters, so the way that process works, they share with us a comparison of how we compare to all of the local districts.
Mhm.
And then from there, the board actually guides that decision-making process, so the board may ask TASB to show, it varies from year to year, but like this year, they may say, show us what it would look like at 2%, 2.5%, and 3%, and then TASB comes back and produces that for us. TASB doesn't make any of the decisions, the board makes all the decisions.
So I assume the other ISDs are doing a similar process?
Correct. Yeah,
Same
that-
timeframes. Did we have any idea what they're proposing percentage-wise?
We get Mr. Rice can probably answer that. That's part of why we use TASB, is that they do work with all the other local districts, and it's a constant race. It's, in certain positions especially, bus driver is one that you often see. You know, we'll raise it $1, and then everyone around us will raise it $1, right, you know, the next month. So it's a constant game a little bit.
So you're not bound to that then? You can, I guess,
Yeah,
edit?
the board can,
at
it's
any
always
point.
the board's decision, what our salary structure looks like.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Great questions and comments. Anyone else? All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rice. Mr.
All right,
Hubert, meeting
we
is
are
back to you.
Back in session. Thank you for that. Okay, moving on to item 8A. Consider and approve of an order authorizing the deficiency and redemption of a portion of the district's outstanding unlimited tax school building and refund bonds, Series 2014, approving an escrow agreement and providing for other matters and procedures related thereto. I think that was
Rice.
written by an attorney.
I know, we just want to keep
Careful
challenging
there
here.
too, yeah.
So good evening, President Hubert, members of the board, and Dr. Knoll. We're recommending the Board of Trustees approve the order authorizing the defeasance and redemption of a portion of the district's outstanding unlimited tax school building and refunding bonds, Series 2014, approving an escrow agreement and providing for other matters and procedures related thereto. The district expects to defease, which means pay off, $3.485 million of Series 2014 bonds. Based on analysis performed by our financial advisor, Mr. John Roebuck, with BOKF, the current estimated savings in debt service is approximately $2.63 million. This defeasance will assist the district in maintaining our debt service tax rate and realize substantial interest cost savings. Just for note, since 2012, the district's debt management program, established by the board, consisting of bond refunding and cash defeasance strategies, has generated over $163 million in interest cost savings for our district taxpayers. So I applaud you for that. This recommended defeasance will pay off, once again, $3.485 million of Series 2014 bonds. We're paying them off 16 years early at a savings of $2.63 million. Mr. Roebuck is here this evening to answer any questions that you may have, and I recommend your approval.
All right, let's see if we have a motion first.
Move approval.
I would think so.
We're gonna spend $3.4 million to save $2.63 million in future payments. How do you go wrong?
Yeah.
Two point 2.63 million is.
Yeah, let me say that again. We have a motion and a second. Now, please, say that one more time.
As I understand it, we're going to pay off $3.485 million worth of bonds, which will relieve us from paying $2.63 million in future payments.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Which will save our taxpayers some dollars.
Yes, sir.
And add to that $163 million that we've saved thus far.
Absolutely.
So
It's
we'll
like paying your house off early.
be closer to $165 million now.
Yeah, 165. Any questions? Any thoughts? All right, we'll call the motion. Call the motion. All those in favor show by the altitude hand, and any opposed by the same sign. Very good. Motion carries. I'd also like to say, this is related to this, but unrelated to this, to Mr. John Roebuck. I appreciate your work that you do. As we're out in the community volunteering, I want it to be noted that you do a great job working with us, but I also see you out there in the nonprofits volunteering your time as well, and that's meaningful. So thank you for what you do. All right, moving on to item B, consider approval of the 2022-2023 official school budget.
Yes, it is my pleasure to recommend the Board of Trustees approve the 2022-2023 official school budget as discussed in our board workshops, as presented in the public hearings, and as recommended by the district level planning and decision-making committee. At this time, I recommend your approval of the 2022-2023 official school budget.
All right. Do we have a motion? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any questions? All right, seeing none, I'll call a vote.
I had a
Yes,
couple questions.
please.
What are we about to vote on before we?
The school budget.
The budget,
Just the
okay.
budget.
Okay.
Just the budget. All right, any questions on the budget? Very good. All those in favor show by the uplifted hand. Any opposed by the same sign? Any abstentions? All right, motion carries unanimous. Moving on to C, consider, adopt, and set by order resolution of the 2022 ad valorem tax rate to support the 2022-2023 budget, maintenance and operation tax rate, debt services tax rate.
Yes, sir. Tonight, we're recommending the Board of Trustees approve the attached order resolution to adopt a 2022 tax rate of 85.46 cents for maintenance and operation and 26 cents for debt service per $100 of taxable valuation to fund the 2022-2023 official school budget. As has been presented and discussed in the budget workshop and public hearings, the above noted tax rates are required to fund the maintenance and operation and debt service budgets for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. But I would like to comment on, even though the district is recommending a tax rate decrease of 6.14 cents, the motion that the board is required by state law to read tonight, stating an effective increase of 15.3% in the tax rate, is very confusing and should include these factors that determine a school district's funding. The first note is per House Bill 3, TEA actually calculates our maintenance and operations tax rate. It is, we provide TEA with the appraisal district information. They do the calculation of our tax rate. We have discretion over mainly the 5 golden pennies that we access. And then as we discussed in the public hearing, per House Bill 3 and the state funding formula, the district's gain on appraisal value growth is net zero in our M&O budget. And lastly, our budget increase is 3.98%. The total combined tax rate of $1.1146 per $100 evaluation is 6.14 cents less than last year. At this time, I recommend your approval.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Yes. I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 1.1146 per $100, which is effectively a 15.30% increase in the tax rate.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion or any questions?
I have a couple questions.
Okay.
I can't stress enough how thankful I am for all the people that work on this and the time that goes into this. But as you know, the no new revenue tax rate is 0.9967. And I'm wondering with the additional ADA attendance we're having, and if we were to go to from 25% to 20 or 22.5% in that, that 3 months that we want, that would save us probably 13 to 15 million. And I'm just saying, as far as from the taxpayer, although we are lowering it, I think most people are experiencing an increase in dollars. And with coming out of COVID, with the economy the way it is, with inflation, I'm just looking for something that we can tell the taxpayer, we're trying not to raise your taxes.
Now,
And I know all the golden pennies in the Austin.
Yeah. But let's just start with the no new tax rate.
9967.
Okay, that tax rate was actually established more for your counties and other taxing jurisdictions. That is their primary source of revenue. School districts, our tax rate actually flows through our state funding formula, and so we don't get the benefit of that revenue that counties and other taxing jurisdictions do, so we get penalized. If we were to adopt the no new tax rate, we would actually forfeit $154 million, not just the pennies times our $100 value, because we would be penalized through the state funding formula for that.
Well, doesn't the ADA, as we just said last year, we grew an additional 3,000 students? And this year also, I know our funding comes from average daily attendance.
But we have to hire teachers to teach those
We still have
kids.
to hire the additional teachers to teach those
How much
additional
how much was the budget last year?
We're up
I had it
three-
written down here.
We're up 3%. It's 596, I believe.
596, 598,
And now
something
it's
like that.
619?
Yes. Yes, sir.
619, 827. I think the taxable values of our properties went up 28% roughly from last year.
They went up
20%.
20.92%.
Okay, I said 28, yeah, I had it written here.
Yeah.
If we could even look at maybe going from 25% to 22.5 or 20% in the cushion.
But
People, I'm telling you, people out there don't have cushion. Most people don't have 3 months.
Yes, sir, I
in the bank
understand,
account.
but the
I'm just
reality,
Dale, I'm
yeah,
not a
the
sir.
reality for school districts, I want to be clear here, that although our tax values increased by 20.92%, based on the funding formula, our actual budget only increased 3.98%. And if y'all remember, several years ago, our state legislature said that you should use inflation rate plus population increase to govern what your budget increase is. Well, inflation alone is 8.5%.
And just to speak to your point, Mr. Inman, our school district has never adopted a deficit budget. There are school districts out there that do, and in a sense, that's what you're suggesting, that we would
again,
use our savings account to lower the tax rate and pay out of our savings. So we would be adopting a deficit budget. That's just something that the board has never directed us to do, because it's, if we.
I realize the can of worms I'm opening.
Right.
Not that we're not all,
Right.
walking through this in our minds, but that savings is 154 million. Isn't that 25% of the 619?
Mhm.
I think with 154 million dollars in our savings, if ever there was a time to do it, it would be now. With that 8.5% inflation, that's hammering our taxpayers too right now.
But so if we, and I'm just gonna try to talk and make sure that I'm understanding what you're asking and what Darren's reaction to that would be. If we were to do, let's say, a 3-penny tax rate reduction, if that's what you're suggesting, three pennies.
I'm not saying necessarily go all the way to the no new revenue.
Right, I'm saying if it was 3 cents, we would be forfeiting 3 golden pennies.
Mhm.
So we would generate $15 million less in local funding, but then we would also generate or lose about $9 to $10 million of state funding, that we would be taking $10 million away from our local community that comes from the state via golden penny that we're not paying in. So we'd be losing that. To do that, to lose that $10 million in state funding, we'd be adopting a $24 million deficit budget, which we know wouldn't be sustainable, and that would generate an additional, it's in this scenario, 3 cents difference for our taxpayers.
Well, again, when we have 154 in savings, it sounds like taking 24 million of that and offsetting it some. If we were ever going to do it, what financial situation would the taxpayer
Sure.
go through that we'd say, yes, we will do that?
I think part of the discussions
we're
we've
there.
had as well, though, is utilizing those funds for land purchases. And if we utilize those funds for land purchases, we will if we spend cash for land and we don't finance that land for 30 years, and John is the expert here, not me, but we will save the taxpayers millions upon millions. We just saved, for $3 million, we just saved $2 million this year. If we're spending $25 million on land, which is what this board has guided us to do, and not spend future bond money on that, the savings will be significant. So once again, it's the board's, we operate at the board's pleasure. We have just always been instructed never to bring you a deficit budget, so that's not what we would bring to you. We always try to bring a balance.
I want to stress, I'm so thankful for all the work we've done, and I really appreciate all the other boards' positions. I just talk to people that say we are tapping into our savings to pay our electric bill, our tax bill, our gas bill. It's going on all around us.
So do you want us to do it a deficit? Is that what you're suggesting?
I'm not suggesting, I'm just saying maybe
Well,
take
there's
some
no
of that
other way,
154.
because you just voted for the budget.
I'm saying could we take the 154 and maybe take some of that to
ta-
offset some? I'm not asking for all the net no new revenue.
No, I'm just saying you voted.
At this point, I'm voting for deficit.
You're voting for a deficit.
Correct.
That's what
And
you
we'll
want.
use our savings to offset it. That's what I would be voting for.
Okay.
With 154 million in savings, it's hard to tell the taxpayer, we've got 154 we're saving.
With $154 million in our general account, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and the 3-month cushion.
You want us to do away with that?
No, not off 154.
How much of it?
I think we just said 24 million of it. If we go to like 22.5% instead of 25%, that cuts, 20% takes us to 30.99 million, 30.9 million. So if we went to 20%, if we did say, instead of a 25%, we'll do 20%, that would more than offset the 24 million.
And then,
So it would be less than, so that's why I went to 22.5, would give us 15.5 million of the 24.
and if I could just ask this question, just for the sake of whatever 7 people will be sitting here next year, that would then have to raise the tax rate back, because that's not sustainable over time. Like, we can't constantly have a $30 million deficit. So just for the sake of the 7 that will sit here and would have to vote next year to raise the tax rate by 5 cents, I think that's something else that we would have to.
I would hope that the economic outlook would be brighter a year from today than it is today. Right now,
I
it's
want your
not.
crystal ball. I want your crystal ball.
But again, I'm looking from the taxpayer, what are they going through?
Well, you're suggesting we're not, and so we are. We all are. I think taxpayers want a balanced budget, and I think taxpayers want their kids taught, and they're willing to pay for those things. I mean, it just is what it is. So nobody wants to pillage the taxpayer. Nobody up here
No, I'm
is
not saying we are.
You're suggesting it. You're
No, I'm
suggesting,
not. No,
you
I'm
are
not, Mr. President.
suggesting that we are
You-
interested.
okay,
You're saying,
You're inferring, I'm not suggesting.
you're suggesting that you're looking out for the taxpayer, which means the rest of y'all are not looking out for the taxpayer. I'd give you an opportunity to correct that if you'd like.
I'm saying, let's consider their perspective. I don't know that we are saying, let's give everyone more money, let's spend more, let's go up, when we know they're going down. When we say, taxpayer, you dip into your savings, but we won't. I'm just saying that's what they're going through. I know
Well,
there
I
are
will-
taxpayers
I will tell you this,
dipping into their savings to pay bills right now.
I've been on many boards, and it is not advisable to operate at a deficit, because at some point there is a reckoning, and that reckoning could come as early as next year, right? So now all of a sudden, the economy is no better than what it is, and then you're having to hit people even harder next year. So to me, it makes sense if I'm going to sit up here as you did and say, yes, I'm for your budget, then you have to fund that, right? And I don't think it's advisable to use your 3-month cushion to fund, because we don't, how many hurricanes are we gonna have this year? I have no idea. You don't either. So that could be used for that general account. But if we tap into it now, it's gonna be even that much harder. Back in 2017, 2018, we as a board voted in favor of reducing a taxable income for those that were affected by Hurricane Harvey. Was it Hurricane Harvey? We use money out of our general account to be able to do that. So if we tap into a budget, like a budget, to me, needs to be funded. It needs to be funded. You can't have a deficit when you're funding your everyday budget. And then general account and rainy day money needs to be used for rainy day money.
Well, I'm saying that I think in the economic situation we're in, it's the economic rainy day. there are people struggling right now, maybe not from rain, but from $3.50 gas and 40% increase in groceries.
And so we would make
And
it
electric
worse next year if we
Well,
had
I'm
to
hoping
make
it would
up
be
for-
better, but we don't know.
So why do it?
I think if we've got 154 million in savings, I'm for using some of that to offset taxes this year. If you're not, then you're not, that's fine.
I know, I'm just telling you, it's $154 million in savings, but it's not the it's the, what that
I'm
money
ready
is.
to call the vote. You know, we know where we stand. You know,
Well,
I,
I'm
you know
just
where I
trying to
stand.
understand. I'm just trying to understand. I did, and maybe if I took it wrong, I apologize, but I did take it when you made a comment saying, I feel like I'm trying to look at it from the taxpayers.
Okay,
Making
we
it
are looking-
seem like
we are
not
looking.
looking at it from the taxpayers'
We are
point of
looking
view.
from the
We're
taxpayers.
all taxpayers, and none of us want to have a high tax rate. None of us do. And I would mention that probably all of us are feeling the exact same pains as everybody else. So I don't want this board to make it feel like we are not keeping the taxpayers' best interests at heart. So that was,
And I would just point out that one of our history over time, the board's history, in using fund balance when there does appear to be an excess in fund balance, which is in itself a positive thing. It means we've saved money throughout the year, and we've put money there. We have typically used that money for one-time purchases so that we don't adopt a deficit budget, but we use it for one-time purposes, really in debt avoidance actions. So there has been an occasion where we built an entire elementary school out of cash. There have been multiple times where we have moved money for capital purchases out of cash from here as one-time standalone so that we don't bleed that into the next year. It's the same reason we talked about here of using this $24 million for land to move it one-time purchase. It's debt avoidance in the future. So that has been our history of how we have utilized that. And in the long run, I think we all understand that the fact that if you can buy capital items out of cash and avoid the financing, the amount of savings that we enjoy there. So that's certainly it's philosophical, and there's no question.
And I would just like to add, I want to stress how thankful I am for the work you guys do. I do believe that everyone on this, up here in the front, is working for the taxpayer. We just have different ideas of what that looks like.
sure.
So I want to be very clear on the record that I do not believe anyone up here is not considering the taxpayer on this vote. I know every one of you, and I know every one of you, I trust and believe, are looking from the taxpayer's perspective. We just have, I think, different ideas of what the taxpayers out there want.
Right.
That's all this
That's
whole
fair enough.
conversation.
It's 6,000 students. I think someone correct me if I'm wrong, the average school district in Texas, school district is like 1,400 students? Is that about
That's
right?
probably true. I don't know.
1,400.
There's so many small, there's so
No,
many
it is.
tiny ones that
I've seen it. It's
they
14.
skew the average, yes.
1,400. We just had 6,000 students. That's the equivalent of 4 new school districts. And our budget is increased by how much? 3.9%? That's pretty remarkable. That is not just coming to the taxpayers and saying, we have an increase. That is, we have done a good job throughout the year looking for ways to save money, just like what we did earlier today, saving money there, squeezing all of these vendors. 1, 2, 3, 4 different items today that we squeezed vendors on. We celebrated saving money several different times. I believe the district is doing everything it can, and we talk about these things in our budget meetings, not just here, but we talk about these things in all of our workshops, which are great because we are allowed in the workshops to get in there and ask the questions you're asking and challenging all of our administrators and our leadership in those workshops. A lot of the stuff happens in the workshops. And so this is good debate. I appreciate you bringing it up. This is good, solid, honest debate. That's my view of it as well.
I mean, I would personally say running at a deficit and blowing through our emergency fund would be just more risky than I think that this community would want to engage in. I mean, we also have to remember, we have a responsibility to all of our, all of the Conroe ISD employees too, and as the largest employer in the county, I mean, we would have also loved to give a much larger increase here, yeah? But we didn't. We had to be, fiscally responsible with the taxpayers' money. and still be able to competitively recruit talent to the district. You know, it's a really fine line, and I think still achieving a decrease in the tax rate with a balanced budget and having an emergency fund, I mean, I think a lot of districts would be envious of that position.
And paying debt off early.
And paying debt off early.
And just to parse that, I'm not saying blow through our 154 million. We would still have 130 million left. We're just saying 24 of it. Not, I would never vote to say, let's go through 154 million.
Right.
Let's have 22% in savings instead of 25%.
It is, you know, if you vote for a deficit budget, it is a reoccurring budget, so that will.
Well,
that
next
will
year,
the
will
next
we be
year.
redoing the budget and the rates again?
You won't be here.
Well, won't the
We
district be
will.
doing that? The district will be.
Absolutely, but I'm saying you're putting us in a bind because you won't be here.
What would it take for us to do this? What economic situation?
I would say not wait till tonight to talk about it, first off.
Well, I was sitting here going
Exactly.
through numbers like crazy as they were being put up tonight.
No,
I mean, I've got all my
we
No,
notes
I'm
here.
saying we've had,
We have had multiple budget workshops to discuss this and to bring this in the last 5 minutes of discussion. And running numbers in the last 5 minutes is unacceptable. We have had multiple opportunities to discuss this, and to bring it up now is unacceptable. We
It's
should have-
unacceptable that no one else did, you're right. I should have brought this up a while ago. I said a few minutes ago, I'm ready for the vote. I call the vote.
You don't know that other people haven't had these discussions. And it's obvious that we have because we are consistently second to lowest rate overall, consistently amongst all of our peer districts. And somehow we are still extremely competitive, bringing in some of the best administrators and teachers all across Texas. And so, no, absolutely not.
And you,
Very well.
I mean, how would you deal with the risk of, you see our student growth, right? We need land, we need to build, you know, new schools eventually. Like, how do you then, deal with that risk, right? If you're using this money to offset the deficit.
Well, we still have 154 million, is I think what we're gonna end up with.
But at
Mr.
some
President, I'm
point-
happy to call the vote.
I understand.
Yeah, I think we've all got our say.
All right, we will I'll call the vote. All those in favor show by the uplifted hand, and any opposed by the same sign. All right, motion carries. Thank you. Item D, receive financial report. Ms. Garza.
Good evening, President Hubert, members of the board, and Dr. Null. It is my pleasure this evening to present the financial statements for the month of July 31st, 2022. Our first statement this evening is the balance sheet. The balance sheet shows the district's assets, liabilities, and fund balance. Presented here is the general fund, the debt service fund, child nutrition, and self-funded insurance. Our next statement is the income statement. The income statement shows the district's revenues and expenditures. Total revenue in the general fund, year-to-date, $527.1 million. Total expenditures of $462.3 million. In debt service, total expenditures of $82.1 million. We did process our second debt payment of the year yesterday in roughly $30 million, so that will be reflected next year. Child nutrition, total revenue $33.6 million. Total expenditures $23.3 million. And in self-funded insurance, total revenue of $49.6, total expenditures of $52.8 million. It's our 2019 bond referendum update. Total funds expended and encumbered to date, $443 million, leaving $206.8 million remaining to complete. We have completed the sale of all bonds approved in the 2019 bond referendum at $653.5 million. Our self-funded insurance update, we are happy to report the month of July, we did end with a surplus. Total revenue for the month of $4.4 million, total expenditures of just over $4.3 million for a surplus of just over $36,000. We are running at a deficit of just over $2 million for the year. Keeping an eye on August claims, they did come in fast and furious at the beginning of the month, but they are starting to level off, so we'll see how we end the year. But all holding, you know, as it is right now, we are where we thought we would be for the year, at a deficit of $2 million. If you'll recall, when the plan design changes were approved, We were anticipating that spike in elective surgeries and procedures that were delayed due to COVID. So we are where we anticipated we would be if we can hold for the month of August. Our investments as of July 31st, par value of just over $708 million. The pools are yielding 1.71%. Our investments at Wood Forest at 1.68%. Our shorter-term investments are at 0.69. Our longer-term investments with TCG are at 0.97%, and then our combined portfolio is sitting at 1.61 as of the end of July, and the 90-day T-bill is at 2.31. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Garza, thank you. Okay, moving on to item 9, legal. Consider and rule on the board policy, F&G, student rights and responsibilities, student and parent compliance, governance level 3 hearing. Ms. Gladys.
Thank you, President Hubert. This meeting of the Conroe Independent School District Board of Trustees is convened on August 16th, 2022. A quorum of the board is present, including the following members: Ms. Teresa Wagon, Mr. Ray Sanders, Mr. Skeeter Hubert, Ms. Stacy Chase, and Mr. Dale Inman. The board will hear the complaint appeal of parents Mr. and Mrs. L. in accordance with local board policy FNG. The hearing is being recorded. The complaint is against the Conroe Independent School District, the superintendent, Dr. Curtis Null, each CISD board member, former CISD coordinator of counseling, Ms. Denise Zapola, Burnham Woods Elementary staff members, along with unknown physical education teaching staff and/or contractor. Because the complaint is against district employees and because personally identifiable information about a public school student could be revealed, the hearing will be held in closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551074 and 5510821. The board will also go into executive session under Texas Government Code Section 551071 for consultation with the board's attorney. The meeting is now adjourned to executive session under Texas Government Code Sections 551071, 074, and 0821. Everyone not associated with the hearing should leave the room. The board will take no action while in executive session. The time is now 7:52. The board is reconvened in open session. The time is now 9:47. The board will now make its decision. The board can uphold the decisions of the level 1 and level 2 hearing officers. They can overturn the hearing officers' decisions, or they can grant any other relief they feel appropriate. Is there a motion?
Do we have a motion to uphold?
I motion that we uphold the level 2 findings.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion?
Discussion, yes. Mr. Lowry, we, obviously we went back there and deliberated, and a lot of the changes that are happening right now would not have happened had you not brought it to our attention, and we want to say thank you very much, and we're sorry for the situation. We're grateful that your son is doing better, and we appreciate what you brought to light, and that we were able to view the website, and we feel like it's a work in progress, and there's still some things that are going to be added and changed, but we don't feel like those things would have happened as quickly as they have had you not fought this fight and brought it to us. And we were also looking at the level 2, and a lot of the things going down are being addressed or have been addressed and are moving forward. So we wanted you to know we appreciate you and what you've done. So.
There's been a motion and a second to uphold the level 2 decision. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? That concludes the hearing. Mr. Lowry, the district will send you written notice of its decision, and that concludes the action in the hearing.
All right. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 12, which is to adjourn.
Will the chair entertain a motion to adjourn?
We will.
Motion to adjourn.
Very good. We are adjourned.